All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Baseline Bum Podcast. This is episode 4. I'm with my buddy AJ, and we are about to talk about some crazy topics. We're going to get into our top 10 all time.
It's going to be a good one.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a good one.
It's going to be a good one. I'm excited about it.
There's going to be some pissed off people. People are going to be disagreeing with us, which is fine. People might be agreeing with us. I'm curious to know what some of these younger generation basketball fans, how they view the top 10, because, if they're born after 2000, they didn't get to see a lot of this stuff. So, curious to see what happens. Leave some comments. Let us know if you how much you love it or how much you hate it. I'm going to lean with they're probably going to hate most of it. But at the same time, I think we can all agree it's probably going to be around the same players, just a matter of different orders.
Yeah.
Regardless, I've been here longer, as my dad used to say, so I know more.
Oh, yeah. Those are words to live by.
Wisdom is what they call it, I believe.
Oh, yeah. So, I guess let's just dive right into our top 10s. Who do you have at 10?
At number 10, I have Bill Russell.
Okay. I can fully respect that. Why is Bill getting in your top 10?
Mostly his championships.
Okay.
He was a player coach, like a legit player coach. Like, he played and coached, for the Boston Celtics back in the 50s, 60s. I think you just got to respect history with Bill Russell. He has 11 championships, so, I get it. The times are different. There was only, 8 NBA teams back in the day. There wasn't a whole lot of, talent to really go around, but it's part of history, and he did it, and no one's come close from a player perspective to come close to 11. So he should be in the top 10.
That's an argument I can't really disagree with too much because, up until recently, Bill Russell was in my top 10 as well, but he was only surpassed by the player I'm about to bring up, and that's Steph Curry. Steph Curry is my 10th player of all time. When I saw the fact that he won before a guy like Kevin Durant got there. He won with Kevin Durant, and he won after Kevin Durant. And I think that was a huge stepping stone for him in a sense that it really showed that he could win when he was on the come up. He could win. He can still win when he's sharing the floor with one of the best players in the world, and then he can win whenever that person leaves and the team is kind of left not in shambles but kind of questioning their identity a little bit.
Sure.
And he's still able to deliver, and I think that accompanied with the fact that he is one of those handful of guys that completely changed the way the game is played, not necessarily from he played so well, people are trying to emulate that. He is physically changing the way teams are scheming their offense. And we talked about it in a previous episode in the percentages of teams that are incorporating the three into their offense. And so much of that movement has to do with Steph Curry. So when you talk about impact, you talk about skill, you talk about records that he's setting that I don't think anyone's ever going to touch.
No one's going to touch those records.
And so it's, for me, Steph Curry has done enough to creep into the top 10 conversation, and I have him at 10.
I'm not going to argue with that one.
Yeah.
It's a cusp thing for me. It's like, I think if you ask me this question next year, it'll probably change, and Steph will probably be on that list, or it could be someone else. I think for me it changes all the time, just from how am I feeling that day? Like today, I'm very nostalgic. I want to give props to where props are due, like who laid the foundation back in the day. You also got to think about Bill Russell back in the 50s and 60s. Like, this black dude really doing good work in the NBA when it was not a thing. Like, that's when civil rights were huge topics of interest. So
you get a lot of hate.
You get a lot of hate,
in different markets,
especially in Boston.
Oh yeah.
So the fact that he's been a legend for this long, and he's definitely paved the way for the big man as we see him, today. Maybe not as much, but definitely from a shot blocking perspective, there's still defensive players out there who watch his tape and go, "That's how I need to block shots."
Oh yeah, he was Hakeem Olajuwon before Hakeem, so I think both of our answers are more than justified
for sure.
So moving on, who do you have at 9?
At 9, I have Wilt Chamberlain.
Okay.
I just think Wilt Chamberlain, Wilt is still. I mean, just it's kind of the same bubble as Bill Russell. I think you just got to respect the past, and
Yeah.
that's my 2 cents. He played on a Laker team. I believe who was on that Laker team. He won some chips with the Lakers. I know that, right? Pretty sure.
Yeah, he won 2 with the Lakers.
Yeah, that's what it was. So I got Wilt on that list at 9.
Yeah, that's a very respectable place for Wilt. When you talk about some of the things that he achieved, it's almost like a mythological, almost like
Yeah, I mean he dropped 100 points in the game.
yeah, and
Like-
he averaged. I mean, he averaged 50 and 25 for a season.
Like that's, I mean, regardless of the era that you're in.
He averaged 50 and 25
Yeah,
for a season.
you're yeah. That's I mean.
Yeah. And then he said, "I'm bored of scoring," and then led the NBA in assists.
Yeah.
And so like it's almost unicorn like when you talk about Wilt. I have him at 12. So I mean I'm right there with you. I think he's one of the most amazing players ever, but he's just right outside of my top 10. For me, I have Hakeem at 9. So because like
yeah.
Hakeem to me is the big man that I think. There's not one flaw to his game. He has the offensive arsenal that everyone dreams of.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a reason why he's still teaching big men how to move their feet to this day. And people are going to him to learn how to maneuver and how to get to the basket. And he's one of the people that studied when you talk about down low. More so than anybody.
I mean, his footwork's impeccable.
Legendary,
Yeah.
and he's got a soccer background, so obviously his footwork stems a lot from that.
Do you think the Rockets would have won the championship if Jordan wouldn't have stepped away from the game?
I think in 93, 94 they were destined to win, but I think that following year. I don't think as much because Hakeem wasn't as strong that year. That wasn't. I mean, the year before that, he was Defensive Player of the Year, MVP, Finals MVP.
Yeah.
He won a championship. I mean, that year he was absolutely flawless. One of the best seasons that's ever been played. And so I think the next year they had a couple of holes in their team. Not that they were bad or anything like that, but had Jordan stayed in the league and they lost in 93, 94. I can't imagine Jordan losing and then not coming back,
Right.
and then in like accepting defeat twice.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think maybe the Rockets would only have one of those championships, but I still feel like I got to think about skill and talent and less so about what a player achieved. Sometimes when you're going into this list, and I think Hakeem is the most skilled big man of all time.
Sure.
Yeah.
I won't disagree with that at all.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Absolutely. So that finishes up 9. Who do you got at 8?
I got Larry Bird.
Bird.
I got
Sure.
I got Larry Bird.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about Larry Bird in the past when we compared him with Steph Curry.
With KD.
Katie. Yeah.
You're all good.
Yeah,
You're all
my
good.
bad. Yeah, with Katie. I mean, just Larry Bird alone, like, I don't know where Boston would be without a Larry Bird type player. I don't see us talking about Indiana State without Larry Bird. I know it's college, but still, to the point is he did so much for basketball, and he was so much fun to watch. Like, he was fun to watch because he was fun to hear those stories. And I mean, Larry Bird is just Larry Legend for a reason. And if you don't have him in your top 10, then you're doing a very big injustice to the NBA, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, you don't know basketball.
yeah,
if
no,
you don't have
yeah,
it in your top
none.
10. You don't.
I just can't, because he was also keep in mind when he got in the league, there wasn't 3-pointers. Like when he started in the NBA, it was only 2-pointers, and he was playing. He was shooting 3-pointers without threes. So I mean, he is a hell of a talent, and he was on their dream team as well, still putting up great numbers. To your point, back when you were talking about him, he was having back surgery and still coming out and scoring 20.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I mean, the dude, his resume says it alone. I think Magic would have more championship if it wasn't for Larry. I think
That's a good point.
I think Michael might have won sooner if it wasn't for Larry. So I think you got to have Larry in your top 10.
Yeah. No, I fully agree with that.
Who do you got at 8?
8. I got number 8, Kobe Bryant. So
some people would have him at 24.
yeah. No, I gotta have Kobe at 8. I feel like he's perfectly placed right there for me. He's done so much. He did so much for the Lakers. He was so loyal to that franchise. One of the most killer mentalities. Obviously, everyone talks about the Mamba mentality, but it went so beyond that to where players, they tried to emulate that work ethic to such a high degree. Because as much as I love Jordan, my generation and people that are our age that grew up playing basketball, we actually learned how to work hard from Kobe.
Yeah, for sure.
Because when he was young and he was just 17, 18 years old, he was the first one in the gym, and that blew my mind. And so whenever you see a guy like that, that really is an absolute game changer. On top of the fact that he is one of the most accomplished defensive guards ever. You're talking about only second to MJ when you're talking about perimeter defenders.
Oh, for sure.
And guys that I would trust to guard anybody. I don't care if they're a big 7-foot center or the fastest point guard ever. You say Kobe's got that person, I don't question it.
No.
And so to me, when you have that kind of offensive mentality accompanied with that kind of defense, I mean, you have a top 10 player easily.
Yeah,
So Kobe at 8 for me.
I mean, Kobe,
Kobe.
Kobe being Bryant, that's
Kobe.
Yeah, I mean, it's Dave Chappelle made a skit about him.
Yeah,
it's one of those. Kobe Bryant was just being in the trenches as a Spurs fan against Kobe. We hated Kobe so much. We despised Kobe. I remember,
but it was love hate.
But it was love hate.
It was respect hate.
It was like, damn it, he's so good, and he backs it up, and he trash talks, and he kind of has a swag about him, and just so anti-Spurs. But then when he retired, you're like, man, those are some good years. Because they got us, we got them.
You appreciated the battles.
Yeah, the battles were, just always top notch. The fact that he was able to come back and win 2 back-to-back without Shaq is one of the craziest things to think about. That dude was determined to win a championship and not have the stigma or the Shaq comparison. And I think a lot of it had to do with Shaq winning in Miami and having Kobe come back and just say, "Oh yeah, watch this." And I mean, he definitely he's definitely up there. He was an amazing talent, and the fact that he knew when to call it quits and not extend his career or try anything else.
He did get hurt.
He definitely got hurt towards the end, but whenever he decided to hang him up, I think it was very mature of him to make that decision. Because I mean, a lot of times with those legends and because you play so well for so long, and you're like, who can stop me? I'm gonna do this till I'm 50. Yeah. And I mean, Jordan kind of got into that as well, because when he came back with the Wizards, I mean, I think he might have retired too soon with the Bulls to make him come back to the Wizards. But with Kobe, I feel like it was the perfect time, and he knew it was a perfect time too.
Oh yeah.
He's one of those. He was one of those love-hate Spurs anti-hero type guys. But man, what a talent!
Yeah, what an absolute talent. He had to be in my top 10. That's why I had him at 8, man. So I guess moving on, who are you putting at 7?
I got Magic.
Magic at 7. Okay,
yeah.
Absolutely.
So I mean, you can go, for me, you can go 8, 7, 8, Bird, Magic, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
For me, Magic just slightly. The way that he changed the point guard position and made it more of a point forward. The way that he was able to kind of slide into a veteran team with Kareem and Worthy and those guys and win a championship right off the bat, and then be dominant and be in the limelight. And he, to my knowledge, there's really not a whole lot of NBA players who are in Michael Jackson videos, and so he was definitely in one. Remember the time for a few people, and he played an amazing bodyguard to Pharaoh, who was played by Eddie Murphy. So that's the only reason why I was kidding. No, Magic has to be number 7? Yeah, number 7. So I don't know if I need to really go into more than that.
No, that makes all the sense in the world. Magic is an amazing talent. For me, I have who you had at 8. I have Bird at 7.
There you go.
So I mean, Larry Legend, obviously one of the most well-rounded players in NBA history. When you talk about his ability to score, his ability to distribute, his rebounding ability, he has the most rebounds per game out of any small forward all time, and people forget that. Like that,
for sure,
he is a down low guy that can pull down those boards for you. So. I feel like a lot of people overlook that. So, for me, he's one of those guys that gets a lot of disrespect from this younger generation, but it's going to take a lot for him to move out of my top 10.
Yeah,
so
for
Bird
sure.
at 7.
Hey, for you young fans out there, go on YouTube and just type in like Larry Bird stories, because there's so many that are so just absolutely like mind-boggling on how good and how much trash talk he had, and he just backed it up.
Well, a lot of them do watch the videos, but then they just discredit the era. They say he did it against nobody, and then it's like, and then you just have to like be like,
yeah, he's got to throw away.
Yeah. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
So moving on.
Yeah.
6.
I have LeBron James.
At 6 all time.
At 6 all time.
Let me just TikTok. Hold on a second. Let me just get this straight. You have LeBron at 6th all time.
I do.
LeBron King. You have King James at 6th all time.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Let's
hear it.
I mean, what he's done for the league is fantastic. I'm just not a LeBron fan. Like I like LeBron. Don't get me wrong; he's a great player. But when you see my top 5, like those guys are killers, and those people no one wanted to see on a night-to-night basis. Like LeBron James is everyone's buddy, and that's cool. It's fun. They all high five and they all hang out with him in LA and whenever they need to go train and whatnot. But like no one's scared of LeBron James, and I think LeBron James, I don't know if it's any fault, but except for the media's, but he has such a high ceiling and so much expectation and everything. And it took him, like almost 10 years to finally get championship. I think it was it 10, 9? And he had to go pair up.
It was about 10.
He had to go pair up with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh and a bunch of like shooters and stuff. I mean, like I think a lot of, for me, the criticism of LeBron James is he once again had to go. Just these superstars nowadays have to go pair up and team up with other people, and for some reason that just rubs me the wrong way. I'm happy that he won a championship with Cleveland. I think that's why he's in my top 10. But if you were to ask me before that, I don't think he would be anywhere close. I think I just need to respect his. I need to respect his talent in my own top 10.
Yeah.
By putting him in at 6.
Okay. But fair enough.
And I mean, he's also like the guy that you would make on 2K that is the perfect player.
Right.
And I mean, like he was a video game character, and I mean he's definitely. I don't know if he's lived up to the expectation, but I also think that he's fallen flat on his face a bunch of times, and also another thing is whenever he leaves franchises, or like the when he left the Cavs the first time, like that, it's amazing they were able to even recover from that.
Yeah.
And then when he left Miami, it's amazing they were able to recover from that. And whenever he ends up hanging them up with the Lakers, if he ends up going back or goes play with Bronny or whatever, I mean that's, I don't know. I feel like loyalty goes a long way in my top 10.
That makes sense.
So that's just me. And if you want to criticize me, that's fine. I really don't care.
You might catch some heat for that one.
Oh, I'm sure there's a lot of people that have him at number 1.
Yeah.
That's great. But I mean, if you're a top 5 player on my list, you're able to fight through a game that doesn't have air condition. Sorry.
Fair enough. All right.
Who do you got?
At number 6, I have Diesel.
Oh.
Shaquille O'Neal. Physically dominant, the hardest to guard player of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, you could make a game plan trying to stop him defensively, and he would just mow through you. It didn't matter. He'd push you off the block. He'd bully you. He'd dunk on you. Score with amazing efficiency, and was low key a pretty good defender too. I mean, I think
he was a great defender.
I think that gets glossed over quite a bit, but he was actually runner up in Defensive Player of the Year behind. I'm trying to think. I think it was actually behind Akeem one year.
Yeah.
And he was in that conversation. So, there was really no holes in Shaq's game outside of his free throw shooting,
and his acting. But
well, I mean, outside of his game, his acting was absolutely atrocious. I do like Blue Chips though.
Blue Chips is a great movie.
Shout out to director William Friedkin, who also directed The French Connection.
Yeah.
At low key, that movie has a lot of great filmmaking, but that's for a different podcast altogether. Okay, but yeah, so Shaq, one of the most dominant big men, the most dominant big man of all time. It didn't matter how strong you were. He made guys like David Robinson and Patrick Ewing look kind of weak.
Same thing with Hakeem too.
Yeah, so same thing with Hakeem from time to time.
Yeah.
Even though Hakeem bested him.
Yeah, Hakeem bested him in that 94 year, whenever the Magic went to the championship to play Houston. That's a great six. I mean, I'm not going to argue with that.
Absolutely.
Shaq.
Shaq.
It's Shaq. Like, it's Shaq. He's my number 5.
Okay.
So he's my number 5.
Perfect.
Just not much more to be said outside of, he was just a dominant superstar, a hell of a. I mean, dude's a big kid, personality for years, smart businessman off the court. What he's given back to the NBA that he didn't have to, and doing inside the NBA with Chuck and Kenny Smith and what's his face, what's his name?
Ernie,
thank you. Sorry.
Arnie.
Brain fart over here.
No, you're all good.
So, yeah, I mean, what he's done for the NBA outside of his career has been fantastic. I wish he wouldn't have jumped around as much as he did towards the end of his career. Going from the Celtics and the Suns and Cavs and all that stuff. Like, he became kind of a shell of himself, which was like it's kind of expected.
Well, you didn't like the Big Shamrock?
Well, his nicknames were by far the best. The Big Shamrock, the Big Cactus.
Yeah, they were so ridiculous.
Yeah, just
they got out of hand.
Yeah, Shaq and LeBron, like they weren't able to make it work. But I mean, just Shaq in general, dude, his dominance down low was like absolutely astronomically amazing to watch when, especially in the early 2000s, when he's just doing like little baby hooks. He's doing baby hooks, or he's backing you down and dunking all over you. And it's not just one or two plays. It's for 48 minutes straight.
Yeah.
I get the ball, and my butt's going straight into you, and you're not going to stop it because I'm so big.
You expend all of your energy trying to fight him off, and then you have no energy to do anything else.
But I don't think Shaq would be able to stand up in today's era.
Why do you think that?
Hit 2000 Shaq. 2000 and on Shaq, I think Magic Shaq could keep up.
Are you just saying like he wouldn't be able to run up and down with the pace of today? Oh, I think Shaq creates his own pace. I think
That's fair.
I think Shaq.
You are resetting every time he scores, so that's true.
Yes, like I mean, there's if all the offense has to do is get the ball past half court, slow, Shaq post up, like. Yeah, like my pace is whatever Shaq needs it to be.
That's a good point. My favorite Shaq moment is when Greg Popovich decided to foul him at the beginning of the year, and he just has this dumbfounded look like, what the hell just happened? And Pop's just sitting there smiling and giving him the thumbs up, and he was like, okay, so you heard what I said. Okay, cool.
I love that. I love that moment.
I like Pop's relationship with some of these athletes for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great number 5.
Who do you got 5?
Number 5. I have this man right here.
Oh.
I've got Timothy Duncan.
Tim.
Yeah, I got Timothy. The greatest power forward to ever play the game. 5-time champion, 15-time most all defensive selections of anyone ever. Yeah. People don't talk about that enough. And none of these all defensive selections were third team. They were all first or second team. Yep. And so this to me is what makes him the most well-rounded player maybe out of anyone on this list when you talk about guys that were consistent on the offensive end, and they did exactly what the team needed to do, because there was never a point in Tim Duncan's career where you felt like he was playing for the stats.
Right.
Every time he had a huge game, whether it was like something like 30 and 15 with 5 blocks, you were like, dang, that's exactly what the team needed to score. It wasn't like, oh, Tim Duncan was selfish that game and took too many shots.
Oh, for sure.
That he was always the guy that was going to be consistent and be the model for your franchise. And for me, what he did on offense, what he was able to do on defense, how he was able to stay loyal and build that team and be the silent leader that you needed, he's got to be in my top 5. And I get hate on that on TikTok. I get people saying like, oh, he's one of the greatest system players ever. There's no Tim Duncan highlights and a bunch of stupid bullshit. And
are you kidding me?
I'm like, he is my 5.
Yeah. I mean, why don't you go show the play of him dunking on Ben Wallace? Like,
Ben Wallace literally falls over.
Dude.
Like, literally one of the strongest defenders of all time.
That was either in 05-06 after we won the championship against him, or it was the year that we won. So, Ben, I mean, it was top-notch Ben. It wasn't like...
That was prime Ben Wallace.
Yeah, it wasn't scrub Ben.
That was Fro Ben.
Yeah, Ben Wallace was there to fight people.
That wasn't Rose Ben. That was Fro Ben.
Yeah. Definitely good 5. Definitely good 5.
Absolutely.
It's Tim. It's Tim.
Yeah, it's Tim. He's got to be top 5. So,
yeah.
Okay, now we're getting into the meat and potatoes here.
Yeah.
Who do you have at 4?
At 4, I got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So
Kareem.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So it's Kareem. It's Kareem. What do we talk? How do we talk about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? I mean, he was the big man in an era of few big men. Like Kareem, it was Kareem, Wilt, those guys going against each other. I mean, Kareem invented the sky hook. I mean, we see Luka nowadays throwing up sky hooks. No one could stop it, too. That was another thing. Like, because he was so big and so long, and he was so efficient at that sky hook, you couldn't block it. Like, no matter how big you were or how high you could jump, he was bigger and he was taller. And just all you can do. Kareem definitely kind of set the way for also the Lakers, same way like Magic did. Mm-hmm. He was, I think he might have been the only NBA player in Mighty Ducks 2. So, shout out to the Air Gordon.
Shout out to the Air Gordon.
But in all seriousness, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is like, he's just one of those players that I think a lot of the young kids just don't recognize and don't see as the kind of talent that he really was. So I definitely highly recommend. And a lot of this for me, just know that I get my resources from NBA TV. Or, whenever ESPN Classic has these NBA games on, it's really fun to sit down and watch, like, just, regular season game where when some of these guys just played insanely well, but no one's going to talk about it. And that's where you learn a lot about the history and about the league. And, just with Kareem, too, like, he was tough as nails.
He was.
Like, he was tough as nails. And, that dude was fighting everybody on the court. And he was blocking shots and scoring, and the guy was doing it in rec specs too. So like you got to respect that. So he's my number 4.
Yeah, that makes all the sense in the world. I totally agree. I have at my 4 spot, I have a player that's already been mentioned. I have Magic at 4.
Okay,
I think when you look at his impact, his success, I think, and I hate to bring it up in this way, but had his career not kind of been derailed the way it was, I think he was healthy enough outside of his ailment to have longevity.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like he broke down due to injury.
Right.
I think if there was a healthy Magic for another 5 or 6 years, he would have had the longevity, would have had even more success, would have more records, and we would be talking about Magic the same way we were talking about MJ.
Yeah.
And so and so to me, I think that's a very, like, you almost had to put an asterisk and say, like, that was a very I mean, I'm not saying it's something that was out of his control to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But it was something that I feel like completely changed. Completely changed what could have been a potential GOAT player.
Yeah.
And so for me, Magic has got to be in my top 5 because of that. And when I'm looking at what a player did on the court and off the court in terms of completely turning the league around, like we were talking about in a previous episode, going from potential bankruptcy and people wanting to pull their finances out of the league to it being a viable finance opportunity. And so people viewed the league as something to watch because of Magic. And so I feel like for me that legacy and that impact, got to give him top 5. So I have him at 4.
I get that. And without Magic, too, like, you're not going to have your Lukas, you're not going to have your Giannis's, you're not going to have your LeBrons, D-Wades type players. Because, I mean, those guys are all over 6'5" and play with the ball. Like, they got great handles. They got great shots. I mean, they're facilitators. I mean, they can go get theirs if they need to. Yeah, I mean, like, without Magic, you can't. There's nothing you can do.
He was the stereotypical point forward, and he set the mold for that.
Yep.
All right, so we're getting in the top 3 right now.
Oh man, I cannot wait for this heat.
Yeah, I'm looking at my list, and I am only. I think I know who you're about to say, but I guess I don't.
No, it's gonna be Timmy.
Oh, okay.
I'm going Timmy at 3.
Okay, good. Okay,
Timmy's at 3.
Okay.
Timmy's at 3, just from his longevity, his IQ, his ability to make other players better around him. Also, kind of going back to what you were talking about, he was so consistent, and he was such a silent assassin. You're just sitting there, looking up, going, "Oh my God, this guy just had 25 points and 13 rebounds!" Like, and he did it so quietly. Like, just growing up, I always thought that was what everyone did in the league. Like, everyone just had 20 and 10, and double-doubles were just a dime a dozen in the NBA. And then, obviously, growing out of that childhood, just like, oh, like, Timmy was special. Like, Timmy was very special. And then some of the passes that he would make, like, in the post were very good. Like, very, very, like, he knew where to go with the ball.
Yeah.
And I think, that has a lot to do with Pop. And, you can say he's a system player, sure, but, I mean, what great player isn't a system player? Like, at some point, you have to rely on your coach because your coach sees something you don't see. So, that system player nonsense is trash in my opinion, because I think it's just it's a match made in heaven with Pop and Timmy. So you can't talk Pop without Timmy. You can't talk Timmy without Pop. It's just how it is. So I have Timmy at 3.
Absolutely. Okay, that makes sense. I can't hate that. Like I said, I have Timmy at 5. So we both have strong feelings about Timmy being in our top 5s. You heard that here, TikTok. Okay, so moving on. We're now talking about 1 and 2.
Who do you have at 3?
Oh yeah, wait. We are talking about a 3. We are talking about 3. I'm trying to move on too quickly.
I know. I get it.
Excuse me. Number 3, I have Kareem.
Okay.
So that's where I'm going with my third pick. He has the most points out of anyone all time. Yeah. So we're talking about the NBA's leading scorer ever.
And how many 3-pointers does he have?
Isn't it like
0?
Yeah, I couldn't remember if he hit one like late in his career.
0.
But yeah,
no 3-pointers and 36,000 points.
Absolutely. Well, he had some really amazing down low moves, and obviously his patented skyhook. I mean, there's no one that could defend that. So he was able to really just amass stats like really very few people have been. able to do.
Just sit there and just marinate in that stat for a second. You lead the league you lead the NBA in most points scored all time, and you didn't take a single 3. Like,
well, absolutely, he was the first player to really see the massive success from longevity.
Yeah.
So he was able to accumulate those stats because he was good for that long.
Right, for sure.
And so I think obviously when he was playing early on in his career with the Bucks, when he was Lou Alcindor, he was putting up insanely huge numbers. But no one thought, oh, this guy is going to set all these records. But it wasn't until he got into year 13, 14, 15, and then people were like, wow, if he hangs out until 19 years, like, he's going to be able to do some really special stuff. Obviously, he was a shell of his former self. I think his last season he put up a little over 10 points a game.
I mean, that,
but still, he was out there and he was still playing. So I think he was one of the first players to really benefit from extended longevity, and somebody like LeBron is doing nowadays, where it's just he's playing really well late in his career, and that's gonna sort of push him over the top when you talk about some of these long-term accolades.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got Kareem at 3. He's done a lot.
It's not bad. Not bad.
So top two.
Top two. Well, for me, I mean, I guess you guys can probably see my age with these top two, but my number 2 is Kobe.
Yeah.
Kobe's number 2. I think Kobe has the most unique superstar trajectory of all time, because so many times, like, the Lakers should not have been good, and he was able to make them good, or at least decent to get to the playoffs and go from there and make some runs. But like his coming into the league at 18, winning the dunk contest, being traded draft night to an organization that is Hollywood and limelight, and just owning it, like, just absolutely owning it. It took him some years to get there. Took Shaq's help for sure, but those 3 NBA championships were no joke to start out, and then to continue to be in the championship, moving forward. Like in was it 04 he was in the championship? Was it 07 and 8 he 07 no 08 he won, 09 he won.
No, 08.
08.
08 they lost to the Celtics.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
And then they won 9-10.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, he was in the finals every year except for 2 in a decade, which is very impressive. And the fact that he was, I wouldn't say able to reinvent himself, but able to, like, add a small layer to his game that was, whether it was passing or trusting people, to just straight up scoring on his own. I mean, his career alone is just one of those things you hope that your career could go in that direction. Not necessarily like with the accolades and things like that, but the way that he went out his last game against the Jazz, dropping 60 points, like, in the most Kobe fashion possible.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he dropped 81 against Jalen Rose, which is, like, my favorite thing of all time, because I'm
that commercial is so perfect.
Yeah, he's the fact that he was able to change his game from being the guy that kind of relied on Shaq to being the guy and making Paul Gasol an even better player than he was, making Lamar Odom even better player than he was, taking guys like Sasha Vujacic to the promised land, like just random things like that. Like, you can't disagree with Kobe's mentality and what he's done for the game, and everything that's come since then. And people will be talking about Kobe for centuries moving forward. Like, I don't see, like, Kobe may have passed, but he is not going to be. It's not going to be the end of Kobe ever.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
I agree with that.
They're going to come out with more shoes and more jerseys. They're going to have Mamba nights and all this other stuff. And I think it really just shows also the kind of mental fortitude that he had. Because, I mean, being a young kid going into Hollywood and with a prestigious, historic franchise like the Lakers, when they needed a superhero and they relied on an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
And he was able to deliver for the next 20 years. Like, that is very impressive. Of course, they had some down years for sure. He had some issues. We're not going to get into that. But, I mean, it's for him to influence the game that he has, and I really think he took it to an international level too.
He did.
I think part of the reason why the NBA is so big in China is because of Kobe. I think Kobe's one of those guys that no matter where you go, if you say Kobe, they're gonna know who you're talking about.
Oh yeah, everyone knows Kobe. He's worldwide. And he's worldwidely known for his work ethic and things he achieved, and Yeah, that's a very, very respectable place to have Kobe. I mean, like I said earlier, I have him at 8.
Yeah.
Just because there's people who I feel like have achieved more and did so in more impactful ways, but I cannot disagree with him at 2.
Sure.
At 2, I have LeBron, just because primarily because I feel like he is the most complete player when I look at just when you're talking about playing the game of basketball, everything going into offensive skill, going into defensive skill, and the amount of longevity he's had and how he's maintained this level of play for this long. He is, I mean, in terms of being a complete player, he's the most complete player ever.
Sure.
Yeah, and so I feel like that to me earns him number 2. I know that his finals record can be questioned, and I think that's the primary reason that keeps him from being my GOAT. I think if he would have been more successful in the finals and would have played better when it mattered more, I think maybe he could have been the GOAT. But I think, I mean, there's really nothing he can do at this point for me to surpass MJ, and who we both have as our GOAT. Let's just.
Oh, you have him at 1?
No, I actually had Brian Scalabrine.
Oh, I had Ronnie Turioff.
Oh. No, but
It's
yeah.
like, all right, I have Matt Bonner, you have Brian. All right, let's debate. No, absolutely. I mean, obviously, it has to be Michael. Like,
It has to.
What Michael did for the game. I mean, like, what he did for the game and the way that he was able to be himself and be that killer mentality. He was clutch. He was efficient. He had that drive. I mean, the only reason we're talking about, basketball shoes is because of Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Like Michael Jordan, he was fined in the NBA for having was it black on his shoes or something like that? Like,
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he changed the game.
You couldn't have 3 different colors
Right.
on a pair of shoes, and he had like 4.
Yeah, he completely changed the game. I mean, we're still buying. I bought a pair of Jordans last week, a pair of 1s.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's ingrained in our culture. Everyone knows who Michael Jordan is. Everyone knows every shot that he's ever shot. There's guys that dress up as him and just hang out right there at the was it Chinese Theater in L.A.
Yeah.
And, like, take a picture with me, and it's like, you're not Michael. He's like, I'm close.
Yeah,
So,
I'm great value.
I mean, just like think about all the things, all the stories that he's had, all the people he's helped, move through the league, like a Kobe, like a LeBron. Maybe not necessarily LeBron, but definitely Kobe.
Yeah.
He just has that drive and that instinct. And kind of going back to what I was saying in some previous episodes is, what would Michael have been if he would have just taken health and fitness and nutrition just a little more seriously? Like, instead of going to play golf, why don't you go, rest or cryo chamber or eat some kale or whatever? Like, I'm curious to know, like, what he would have, how much longer he would have gone. And, Michael's a great player. Now, if we're talking about top 10 worst GMs, he also might be one of those too.
Yeah, his decision making as an executive is less than desirable. Let's just go ahead and phrase it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, MJ is the obvious GOAT. When you look at the things he's accomplished in his finals record, which is, oh my gosh, just spotless, and the fact that he's a 10-time scoring champ.
Yeah,
I don't think people think about like the how hard that is. You had guys like Wilt who were scoring 100-point games and averaging 50 points a season.
Yeah.
And he has 7 scoring titles, and MJ has 10 and over 30 points a game for his career.
And he wasn't
30.
and he wasn't doing that in a guard centric league.
Right. He was doing that when
in,
it was big men down low, they would foul you, they'd hit you.
Yeah.
Obviously, I feel like people are stronger in today's NBA,
Sure.
but that doesn't mean that you're getting hit the same way.
Right.
Or you're allowed to get hit the same way. So I feel like there is a level of toughness that exists within 90s basketball, but players are stronger now than ever.
For sure. Well, there's something about watching Michael play basketball that was just It's kind of like Bruce Lee and just be water. Like the way he moved was just so effortless and so flawless. And then he would pull up and shoot a fadeaway with his tongue out and like nothing but the bottom. Like, I mean, he would glide to the basket and like you think he'd be falling over and he's going to lay it up and he would dunk it. It's like, I don't know if you ever had a chance to see him play live.
I did, but it was with the Wizards.
Oh, okay. So I got to see him in 96. No, 96, 97, somewhere around there, towards the end of his Bulls career at the Alamo Dome. And I'll never forget this. The Spurs, I think it was the year where we lost David, and it might have been either the year before Timmy or the year after Timmy. I can't remember when it was, but Spurs were winning at halftime. We should not have been winning that game at halftime.
Right.
And there is a kid in front of me who's wearing like decked out in Michael Jordan gear. And he was like crying because they were losing at halftime. And his mom was like, come on. Like, it'll be fine.
You realize who's on our team.
Like, you guys are going to win. And like, of course, second half, Michael comes out of the gates and just goes off on the Spurs. And I think he dropped like 30 that game or something like that, and they ended up winning by 20. I mean, it wasn't even a close game, but one thing that also stuck out for me at the time was, again, this is the Alamo Dome. Like, it's a football stadium, right?
Yeah.
It's not meant for basketball games. But when Michael Jordan was in San Antonio playing at the Alamo Dome, they had the attendance of like 36,000 people for a regular season game in San Antonio against the Bulls. Like,
that is crazy.
Like, because they had like and if you guys aren't familiar with this Alamo Dome back in the 90s, the way that they had it like basically sectioned off. So like half of the stadium was basketball with like bleachers, and then they had almost like a sheet, and then behind it was like fan fiesta where kids could go and like mess around and stuff. But essentially, because they had it cut off, they could only really sell tickets to one side of the arena. But when Michael Jordan was there, people were, sitting on the other side of the curtain. It was like they were not even like watching the game. They were watching the TV that was in the fan fiesta, but they were just happy to be in the same building as Michael Jordan. And that kind of goes back to the story of the Olympics when he fouls that guy and the guy's crying, sobbing at the free throw line. And he's like, I just got fired by Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Like what?
That's it. He transcends sports. So
100%.
It's unanimous. MJ's the GOAT.
MJ is the GOAT. Quote us on that. Book it.
Oh, yep.
Signed, sealed, delivered. I'm yours.
He is the MVP. But that brings us into a next category, MVPs, where you can talk about some early award winner predictions for next year.
Ooh, some early predictions?
Yes, early predictions. Who do you feel like is going to be the 2023 MVP?
Great question. I think it's time for Luka to win MVP. I think he could have won it last year.
Okay.
But I think this year is when Luka wins MVP. I really, truly believe that he's the most valuable player on any team right now. Like, without Luka on the Mavs aren't anything. Like, Luka is the Mavs. Mavs would not be where they're at today without Luka. He's the only reason why they even made it remotely a contest in the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
That dude he's the real deal, Holyfield, and if he gets into shape the way that they're showing it on social media and stuff, and if he's playing the way he's been playing in Slovenia, like it looks like, and he's able to get a little bit of rest before the new year, watch out for that dude. I think Luka's going to be MVP.
Okay.
I really do.
Thinking it's going to be Luka. I don't disagree with that one bit. I think we're going to see Giannis win another MVP. I think we have a lot of voter fatigue with Jokic. I don't think he's going to win another one, even if he has a season that's slightly better than what he just had. I don't think he's going to win another MVP right away. I think we're gonna see Giannis. He's going to have another resurgence year now that he's going to get Chris Middleton back, and he's going to feel a little bit slighted from last year's playoffs.
Right.
And I feel like it's going to be a Giannis up year. So I'm predicting Giannis MVP 2023. You heard it here first.
Except my answer is going to be more right.
Well, we shall see. So moving on, some other awards. Let's look at most improved player. Who do you think is going to improve the most?
I might get a lot of shit on this on social media, but most improved player, in my opinion, is going to be Russell Westbrook.
What? Go ahead and say that one more time.
Russell Westbrook, most improved. Because
Okay.
I don't think he can play any worse than he did this year. And if he just plays slightly better, I think the people voting are just going to give it to him. Because he's a big name. And, I mean, like, he's won MVP, so why not give him another award? And, you know, if the Lakers end up making the playoffs and he stays, let's say, best case scenario, he stays with the Lakers. They end up making the playoffs. He's averaging, 28 and 7, and his turnovers are super down. His plus minus is now in the positives. He could easily become especially with the Lakers, because he played so bad last year.
Yeah,
he played
I could
so bad.
I could see it. He's in such a trough that
Yeah.
so he's got more room to go up. From that logic, I respect that. I can see it. I can see.
Who do you
it.
got?
Most improved player, I think I got Cade Cunningham. I think that
Ooh, that's a good pick.
he's shown a lot of promise, and I think he's at that point where he's kind of ready to show he's the man. That rookie campaign was pretty solid.
Yeah.
He showed flashes of a guy that could be your franchise's best player. I think in 3 or 4 years we're going to see some really crazy stat lines from Cade, and I think that may be as early as next season. So most improved player, I'm going with Cade. I also like the young athletes that they paired around him.
Yeah.
It's going to make him a lot easier. It's going to make it a lot easier for him to distribute.
Ivy's going to be
Yes.
the huge help for him.
He has showed so much raw power and raw speed so far. I'm excited for that.
Cade Cunningham is a problem.
Yeah.
He is a and having that being said, like, as your number one, that's a great trajectory to have your number one pick on that road to stardom, is having him take those steps in order to get to where he needs to be. And absolutely. I mean, I think that's a great pick.
Yeah. He's got a lot of upside.
Yeah.
So we are going down the list of awards. Defensive Player of the Year 2023. Who are you thinking?
I got Kawhi.
You got Kawhi? Okay.
If Kawhi stays healthy, I think Kawhi could make a run at defensive MVP. I think, it would be a good way for him to come back. Because, I'm not saying, like, anyone forgot about Kawhi, but at the same time, like, the Clippers, they're not anything with... They're something, but they're not... Like, they need Kawhi. Like, everyone needs Kawhi. And I think having him come back and kind of step into that role as, like, the defensive enforcer next to Paul George, I think that's a great welcome back to the league. And if they can make, like, a good run in the regular season and lead into a good spot in the playoffs, I don't see why not. I mean, it's Kawhi. He's a great defender as it is.
He is.
If he's able to have these games against Lillard and Booker and Jokic and LeBron and just shut them down or just take them off their game, I mean, I think he definitely has the ability to become defensive MVP. Whether that happens or not, whether he plays, is still to remain to be seen. So hope he does, but we'll see.
Yeah, healthy Kawhi can always...
Yeah, keep in mind, these are all on the terms of everyone's healthy.
Yeah, of course. We got to have health.
Who do you like?
Who do I like as Defensive Player of the Year? I mean, I kind of want to go with some of the more stereotypical answers, but I'm going to go with an out-of-the-box answer. And I'm going to go with the guy that I feel like is going to improve a lot, Jaren Jackson Jr.
Okay.
Young rim protector out of Memphis. I think that he is going to elevate his game. He was in the top 5 Defensive Player of the Year talks for quite a while. Yeah. And when you look at guys that have a lot of really good upside to their rim protection now and have nowhere to go but up, I think that he's one of the first guys that you have to bring up.
Sure.
And I think that, who's to say that he can't elevate his game this next season and be Defensive Player of the Year.
Well, I mean,
I think it's a bold call.
If the Grizzlies do what they did last year and he has better defensive numbers, then absolutely.
Yeah, it's only time will tell. And I guess that brings us.
But by the way, sorry. Ja Morant should not have gotten Most Improved Player.
No,
I'm
he
sorry.
shouldn't have, yeah.
He shouldn't. That should not have gone. If you're in talks of being MVP, you shouldn't be in talks of Most Improved. That's just my opinion.
I agree. That should have.
DeJounte should have won it.
It could have gone to DeJounte. I think Jordan Poole. The way that he came on, he deserved it as well.
Yeah, but not Ja. Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry, Ja.
yeah.
I'm sure it looks good on your mantle, but
Yeah, absolutely.
you're gonna get an MVP soon. Don't worry.
All right, so moving on to the last award, let's go ahead and dive in to Rookie of the Year. Who do you think is going to win Rookie of the Year?
Man, that's a tough one. Rookie of the Year, I would say Gardenhoser. Baseball reference, Rookie of the Year. Check it out. Great
Shout
movie.
out. That's a wholesome 90s comedy.
Yeah, great movie. Rookie of the Year. So here's going into this. I thought it was going to be Jabari Smith. I really think he has a chip on his shoulder, and I really think he was kind of slighted. I think he was already looking at homes in Orlando, and I think at worst case he was going to the Thunder. I think he came in thinking he was going to be the number one pick, and to drop to 3, and to not even really be on the Thunder's radar. Because that pick came at number 2, like, so quickly. I mean, It was instant.
It did.
And, I think he has a really big chip on his shoulder, so I think he has a lot to prove in Houston. But watching Paulo play basketball,
he looks special.
He looks, man.
He does.
As you can see, we both went to Texas Tech. We love our Red Raiders. And when Duke knocked us out of the Final Four, like, I knew who Paulo was. Obviously,
Yeah.
I follow college basketball, but to see him next to our players that are tall and lanky and long and just
he just looks
athletes,
so NBA ready.
He looked so much bigger.
Yeah.
He looked so much bigger. I was not expecting him to be that big and that tall and that strong and that smooth. Like, his jumper is silky.
Yeah.
And Paulo's the dude. The only thing the only knock on Paulo, in my opinion, is that he's with the Magic. Like, that's the only thing that I'm not a huge fan of. But when it comes to Rookie of the Year, I think I have to go with Paulo.
Yeah, I think that's about as safe as bet as you could get. He's got such a diverse skill set. I mean, 6'10" body. He's doing step back threes.
Yeah.
He's strong. He doesn't get pushed around. That's a
He
great.
has a man body.
Yeah, but I think I'm gonna go a little bit outside the box, and I'm gonna go Ivy.
You go Ivy?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Ivy. Just what I've seen from him, not only in college, but what I've seen from him just a little bit in the summer league. It's this guy has so much raw speed and so much raw explosiveness. If this guy can channel it in the right ways, he's going to be blowing past people. He's going to be finishing layups.
Yeah.
He is going to be a literal step ahead of some of these guards that may have more skill than him, but they will not be able to stay with his explosiveness. And a guy that I want to compare him to a little bit is a guy like Tyrese Maxey, who I feel like once he gets the keys to that offense, he is going to burn.
Yeah,
and I feel like he's going to be a guy that could end up winning that Rookie of the Year.
I don't disagree with you at all. I mean, looking at, I think I remember texting you during the draft and seeing the moves that the Detroit Pistons are making are they're no longer in rebuild mode. Like, they have their pieces. Their rebuild basically starts this year to see where it goes.
Right. They're still building.
They're building, but
they have their players.
They have their players and they have their foundation. Let's just see where it all goes, because they traded for Kimba. They got Duran as well as Ivy. They got K. They got some good talent.
Yeah, they got
Corey Joseph. Shout out to Corey Joseph.
Kojo.
He is on the Detroit Pistons team as your savvy vet that has a championship.
Spurs, shout out Spurs players. So let's. I think that's a good segue into our last and our final topic, which is going to be Spurs commercials. Our favorite Spurs commercial.
Well, you and I talked about this.
Yes.
And we have the same one. And and fans, keep in mind, please have your YouTube ready for these because you have to watch them. They're so funny.
Absolutely. Obviously, our favorite one is the Tim Duncan, David Robinson, Gillette commercial. And there's so many quotable moments in that commercial. We can't sit here and quote them all. It's just going to be quicker for you to go there and watch this commercial.
But what's out of bounds?
But is it the roses, Tim, or not the daisies? No, it's the gnome. It's the gnome.
I think the best part of that commercial, and whenever you guys go and watch it, you'll know the best part of that commercial is that it's such a suburban home, like in a neighborhood, maybe in a cul-de-sac, and like it's just two 7-footers playing a pickup game, and I mean it's just. None of it makes sense. Like, none of it makes sense, but it's such an adorable commercial.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so wholesome. And at the very end, they're like, more lemonade, Tim?
Yeah, more lemonade, Tim. You just have these 7-foot guys.
It's such a great commercial. When it comes to Spurs commercial, like any HEB commercial, I don't know which one's my favorite, but I think I might have to go with the indubitably Kawhi.
Indubitably Kawhi is a great one.
This meets divine.
this meets divine. Gosh, there's so many iconic ones. It's really hard to choose. I feel like the one that I like the most is when Tony is talking to Tim and kind of describing all of the various HEB products, and he's giving one to each one of the he's giving one to each one of the team members, and he gives this
the corn relish salsa.
The corn relish salsa to Tim, and he goes, "Why are you giving me this? Because I'm corny?" He goes, "No, because I relish our friendship." And that's, oh my gosh, that's that's the wholesome Spurs content I need.
Tony has some really good one-liners. Like, does this say cooking with Timmy?
Does it say cooking with Timmy? Oh yeah, he does. It's stream magnifique.
He has some good. If you guys definitely go down the rabbit hole of HEB commercials, just put it on YouTube and just sit back with some popcorn and a soda or a beer and have a great time. We did a little bit of it before we started, and man, they're so funny.
So many
Bruce
good ones.
Bruce Bowen was fantastic in those. So was Brent Barry was fantastic in them.
Dude, the Legends Club.
The Legends Club is great.
Yes, when you go to the Spurs.
When they had the bubbles and stuff.
Oh my gosh, that one's brilliant.
Some George Gervin, Iceman ice cream.
Iceman ice cream.
Oh, good stuff. So
good stuff.
So hopefully you guys learned a little bit today. Hopefully you like, subscribe, and also just check out our top 10. Tell us your top 10.
Absolutely.
Like where did we miss the ball? I hope we can all pretty much agree on number one. I would imagine. Yeah. I think it's a toss up on how you view the NBA for sure. If looking back at my list, I have a lot of Lakers.
You do have a lot.
I have a lot of Laker fans,
but that's
Laker players.
That's not a knock on those players, though.
No,
there's a lot of amazing Lakers, so it's, they're worthy of top 10 recognition. But yeah, we covered a lot of really great stuff today. I was excited to get into some of these topics. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and checking out the Baseline Bums podcast. We'll be recording more episodes in the near future, so stay tuned, guys.
Yep. Go Spurs, go.
Go Spurs, go.